Welcome back to CT24. You may not have realized it, but soon there will be a lot of activity in the skies over Connecticut. And we're not talking about extra airplanes or fireworks. We're talking about birds. The fall bird migration season starts this week, and you could do right by flying friends, or by our flying friends, by turning off your outdoor lights. And here to talk about the Lights Out Connecticut effort is Craig Repasz, who is the co-founder of this group. Wow. So we really don't think about our lights, but apparently they are very damaging to birds.
Yes, they are. There has been an inundation of these bright LED lights as a cheap way to light up your outdoors. People think that's safe, but there are studies showing that you're not any safer. However, the issue is this light pollution that has an impact on human health, it has an impact on birds, especially during their migration. It has an impact on insects, which is bird food. The way it impacts birds on migration, they, like us, are active during the day, but during migration, 80% of the birds that migrate at night. So during the peak migration, we could have millions of birds flying over while you're sleeping.
What happens to the birds when they see the light?
When they see the light, they are confused. They have sophisticated ways of navigating. They could actually see the Earth's electromagnetic field, and they rely on starlight to do that. They also navigate by the stars. There's plenty of studies showing how they do that. And they navigate by the sun and the moon. So if they see a glow off in the distance, they might think that is the rising sun, and that forces them down into areas where they shouldn't be, that they normally would fly over.
So it really messes up their migratory process.
Yes. Also studies that go back to the mid-1800s looking at birds around lighthouses, that they actually will fly in circles around a beacon for the entire night, and they could literally drop out of the sky exhausted, dead. We see that at the 9/11 memorial.
You brought a map, and we want to pull it up so our viewers can see this. This is what we look like at night. So pretty bright in certain areas.
Yeah, so birds having evolved to migrate at night, needing this darkness, when they come into Connecticut and flying down the coastline, they are flying in daylight, and they cannot navigate, so they're lost, and they get pulled down into our parks, into our yards. And the issue is they will fly into our windows. So we lose 2 billion birds, up to 2 billion birds a year to window strikes in the United States, directly linked to light pollution.
I did a little research. I know legislation has passed, right, with state office buildings.
Yes.
And to keep those dim or off at night so that we don't hurt the birds.
Yeah, when we first were advocating for that legislation, it's Public Act 143-43. It was signed by Governor Lamont. We were asking for the state to shut off their lights during the peak migration season. And there, of course, being a legislative process, they looked at the cost savings and said, oh, wow, this is quite substantial. Why don't we just shut the lights off?
So it's double benefits there. That's good.
So somebody introduced the language to be year-round, so that's even a better benefit to wildlife and humans. So it is a year-round bill, but it's only for state-owned buildings. It's a great example. The state is showing leadership on that, and hopefully our homeowners and our business owners can follow suit.
So tell us what we can do. Now, I understand there are 2 periods for migration. One is the fall, so starting next week,
now until
and then
November.
in the spring. So if I, as a homeowner, are listening and I want to do something and do my part, what can I do?
First of all, shut your lights off. If you don't need the light, shut it off. Or have it controlled on a motion sensor, for example. Make sure your lights are facing down. Put the light where you need it. Obviously in your walkway. We're not advocating to have total darkness. We just want to have the light where we need it. Also, buy bulbs that are lower than 3,000 Kelvin. That gives you a softer amber light that is more beneficial to wildlife. And also try to drop the lumens. We don't need to have it lit up the way we are now doing it.
Right, people don't realize what light pollution really is. I lived in northern Maine for a short time, and I was able to see the Milky Way like I had never seen it before, and mainly because there aren't a lot of bright lights. So that was really a spectacular thing. But in bigger cities, I would imagine, New York, Boston, I mean, it's hard to turn out those lights, isn't it?
Interesting anecdote, when Los Angeles suffered an earthquake and they lost power, people were calling 911 saying, what is this in the sky? They were seeing the night sky the way we were meant to see the night sky for the very first time, so the Milky Way. And so that obviously caused a panic.
Right.
But we need the night sky.
I would think that most people, can do their part. It doesn't sound like a very difficult thing, and the payoff could be really beneficial.
Absolutely. And another aspect that we are advocating is to treat your windows to make, what happens is that our glass will reflect the landscape to birds. And so they think they're flying into a tree and it's our glass, and they kill themselves. Like I said, we lose up to 2 billion birds to window strikes in the United States. So do something to make sure that your glass is visible to the birds. There's plenty of products out there that you could put up. You could make string curtains, put those up, and then take them down after migration, and just stop the thunk.
This is really wonderful. We only have about 30 seconds left, but what do you want people to know and why this is so important?
What's good for the birds is good for people. We need to hear birds. It has a way of lowering our stress levels if we hear birdsong. Also, light pollution is bad for us. It's bad for our health. It gives us an increased risk of cancer. And this is well documented. The AMA back in 2017 declared it a carcinogenic.
Craig Repasz, thank you so much for joining us, and everybody should pay attention and turn those lights off at night, right? Do our part.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on CT24. And to learn more about the Lights Out effort, head to lightsoutct.org. We'll be right back.
Right.